प्रातः स्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वं सच्चित्सुखं परमहंसगतिं तुरीयं यत्स्वप्नजागरसुषुप्तमवैति नित्यं तद्ब्रह्मनिष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्गः तपोभिक्षीणपापानां शान्तानां वीतरागिणां मुमुक्षूणामपेक्षोऽयम् आत्मबोधो विधीयते बोधोऽन्यसाधनेभ्यो हि साक्षान्मोक्षैकसाधनं पाकस्य वह्निवज्ञानं विना मोक्षो न सिद्ध्यति. Hari Om, good morning. We will chant from chapter 7, chapter 7, verse number 1 to 5. Kindle, hello, Kindle, okay. Yeah, up on your screen, chapter 7, verse number 1 to 5. श्रीभगवानुवाच मय्यासक्तमनः पार्थ योगं युञ्जन्मदाश्रयः असंशयं समग्रं मां यथा ज्ञास्यसि तच्छृणु. श्रीभगवानुवाच मय्यासक्तमनः पार्थ योगं युञ्जन्मदाश्रयः असंशयं समग्रं मां यथा ज्ञास्यसि तच्छृणु. ज्ञानं तेऽहं सविज्ञानम् इदं विज्ञाम्य शेषतः यज्ञात्वा नेह भूयोऽन्यः ज्ञातव्यमवशिष्यते. ज्ञानं तेऽहं सविज्ञानम् इदं वक्ष्याम्यशेषतः यज्ञात्वा नेह भूयोऽन्यः ज्ञातव्यमवशिष्यते. मनुष्याणां सहस्रेषु कश्चिदत्यति सिद्धये यततामपि सिद्धानां कश्चिन्मां वेत्ति तत्त्वतः. मनुष्याणां सहस्रेषु कश्चिद्यतति सिद्धये यततामपि सिद्धानां कश्चिन्मां वेत्ति तत्त्वतः. भूमिरापो नलो वायुः खं मनो बुद्धिरेव च अहंकार इतीयं मे भिन्ना प्रकृतिरिष्टधा. भूमिरापो नलो वायुः खं मनो बुद्धिरेव च अहंकारम् इतीयं मे भिन्ना प्रकृतिरिष्टधा. अपरेयमितस्त्वन्यां प्रकृतिं विद्धि मे परां जीवभूतां महाबाहो ययेदं धार्यते जगत्. अपरेयमतिस्त्वन्यां प्रकृतिं विद्धि मे परां जीवभूतां महाबाहो ययेदं धार्यते जगत्. Okay. Chapter 7 of the Bhagavad Gita. We shall start today. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, everyone.
Happy anniversary, by the way. Huh?
First
This
class for the
particular-
17th.
Happy anniversary. I don't know if anyone remembers.
Yeah, good
Happy
morning.
Thank you, and same to
I know, I
you,
see how much
everyone.
importance you give me. Guys,
Sorry?
I see how much importance you give me.
We celebrate every day.
Is it? You're using my lines.
Diplomatic answer.
Hmm?
Diplomatic answer.
You're using my lines against me. You're talking like a Vedantin now.
Uncle,
Good.
how do you remember?
It means you have learned something.
Remember.
You
I wrote
remember?
First class in this
Wrote
cycle
it.
was exactly a year ago, 17th December, I think.
That's
Don't
all
ask me
I
why I
remember.
remember that. Look, I didn't plan to start with that. Well, half a joke. But I just saw the date, 16th of December. I was like, something is new chapter. Oh, I had made some mental note. I had made a mental note that if we finish 6 chapters in 1 year, how long will it take to finish the whole cycle? So that's why. Anyway, happy anniversary. Pleasure to be with all of you. Okay, so we had a couple of questions posted in the group. So first I was wondering why are people posting in the group? Then I said I only told people that they should formulate their question and they should think about it and then but I didn't mean necessarily you have to post it. If you post it, it's good. Everyone gets a chance to think about it beforehand. So that's a good habit. I wouldn't, but I didn't necessarily impose, writing it in the group. Then some people will say, look at this teacher, he likes to get questions beforehand because he doesn't know how to answer on the spot. I've met such people who tell me about some other teachers. I'm like, Acha, is that how people think? But anyway, thank you for posting it. It gives everyone else a chance also to, start thinking about it before class. So we'll start with this and then we'll take up any other questions if there are. And then we'll proceed with chapter 7. So, questions for class on Tuesday. Rashmi ji has reached an average of 3 questions now, minimum. Minimum 3. She's getting her money's worth. Whatever time she's spending out here. Good. I'm glad. So for those of you who are not on the group, questions, verse number 44. Why is sound considered the closest perceivable thing to Brahman? Why is sound considered a closest perceivable thing to Brahman? So, among all sense contacts, okay, what is Brahman? Brahman, and that's the next question which Chetna ji has asked, which I will not answer today because this chapter is going to talk about that. Okay, so the answer to that question is Brahman, reality. What is reality? What is Brahman? We'll answer that question through the course of this chapter. Short answer is yes, Brahman is reality, reality is Brahman. It's another name for reality. But why is sound considered the closest perceivable thing to Brahman? Brahman is achintya, inconceivable. It is not perceptible. It is not an object of perception. Why? Because it is sukshma. It is subtle. Seeing Brahman is not like seeing an object because it's not an object of perception. Feeling Brahman is not like feeling an emotion, happy, sad, nice, because it's subtle. It's sukshma. It's beyond what your senses can perceive. It's beyond what your mind can feel. It's beyond what your intellect can conceive, even the intellect. However, the subtlest of experiences we have are a powerful indication, they leave a powerful resonance in us. It's like a deep concept, leaves a very strong resonance in us. Suppose I tell you, Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grinnati naroparani. This body sheds its clothes at the end of this life and takes up new ones in the new life. Suppose I leave you with that concept. It's a deep concept which stays with you. Even though you don't entirely understand what is reincarnation. You can't. It's inconceivable. But you get a affinity for it. You get a strong relatability to it through a subtle concept. Similarly, even though Brahman is not perceivable through our senses, what are the senses? Touch, taste, smell, sight, and sound. Right? Taste, smell, sight, and sound. Okay. And each sense organ can do one or more of this. Right? Each sense organ can do one or more of this, or rather, each element or each sense object is perceivable through one or more sense organ. See, for example, a physical object, it can be felt by touch, it can be seen by the eyes, it may or may not even have a smell. If it's a cooked item, it may have a smell, right? So objects we perceive are perceivable by virtue of being contactable through one or more sense organ. So the grosser the thing, the more gross the thing, the more perceptible it is. Means it is more and more contactable through various sense organs. Suppose I say close your eyes, I brought your favorite dish. You close your eyes, but then you can smell it. Huh? I know some people, you bring in front of them McDonald's fries, they'll be able to smell it. So you can not see it, you're not seeing it, they said to close your eyes, but you can smell it. Right? So the grosser the object, the more contactable it is. The subtler the object, the less and less perceivable it is. You have to go deep. It is not easily perceptible. Maybe only one or two senses can actually connect with it. Right? What does that mean? Sound. Sound is a phenomenon that can only be contacted by one sense organ, the ear. Think about it. Think about it. Wind can be felt. It's a very gross thing. Wind also carries a smell. It can be smelled. Fire can be seen. Fire can also be felt. The heat of fire. Generally, if you're close to fire, it also carries a smell, depending on what is burning. So various other sense objects or collections of sense objects are contactable through various senses. Means they are gross. Sound is the subtlest. Why? Because it is only contactable. You can't see sound. You can't smell sound. Sound represents Akash, which is space, the subtlest element. And therefore, it is closest to what is inconceivable, because it is so subtly conceivable, so subtly perceivable. It is closest to the imperceptible. So I can't I can't convey to you the imperceptible, but the subtlest perception you can have is complete silence and that single sound, at the exclusion of all other thoughts and sounds and disturbances and perceptions. Single thought, single sound of a mantra. It's the elimination of everything else. And in the beginning of your sadhana, your mantra is loud. In the beginning of your sadhana, you do bhajans very loudly, you do kirtans very loudly, you jump, you dance. Eventually, even that quietens down. Then you start with the jap. You graduate from bhajans to jap. From jap, your jap also becomes silent. It becomes a mental jap. In effect, that sound itself has been eliminated. The sound remains a thought in the head. Sound is also, that's the peculiar nature of sound. It's actually a mental phenomenon. And ultimately that final strand of mental sound also dissolves into complete silence. So the way the path, the penultimate step, what you and I can experience or rather understand the experience of, is this experience the subtlest experience of sound. And ultimately that subtlest experience of sound dissolves into that complete silence of the imperceptible. That's why sound is associated with Brahman. Is sound Brahman? No. Sound is not Brahman, but sound is that vessel which, if you get on and completely isolate yourself with, it carries you to that ultimate silence. So this entire science of dhyana yoga, mantra yoga, we've often said that it's the ultimate journey, right? You don't begin with meditation, you conclude with meditation, but it's a very scientific process. It's a very scientific conclusion because it's that raft which carries you to that ultimate samadhi, complete equanimity. Does that explain why sound is associated with Brahman? Closest perceivable thing to Brahman.
Yes, thank you, sir. Very beautiful.
Why does a Vedantin treat his present incarnation as perhaps his last, whereas the pessimistic spiritual seekers calculate manifold births starting from the present incarnation? Because we are optimistic. There are enough pessimists out there. In fact, we're not even optimistic. We're not even foolishly optimistic. We are very realistic. We see my desires and tendencies are not random. The reason I'm here is because I must have created an affinity for it. That affinity for something is not created out of nothing. It's created by past impressions. Right? The contrary is also true. I'm not that much into spirituality. I like 1 class a week, 2 classes a week. It means you're a casual Vedantin. It means that maybe this is not the last life. If that's the... maybe you don't tell yourself that, but Guru will know that this fellow has at least 10 lives to go. They won't ever tell you that. See, these things are not fixed. It depends on the intensity of your sadhana. It depends on the intensity of your sadhana. And you can accelerate your sadhana by, of course, not beyond a point. You are constrained by your nature. You have to move gradually. But you can accelerate your sadhana by keeping satsang through, Swamiji often compared it to, he said, karma yoga is like walking, bhakti yoga is like driving, and jnana yoga is like flying. Karma yoga is like walking, bhakti yoga is like flying, driving, and jnana yoga is like flying. Not to say that one is better than the other, but if I'm talking about the acceleration you gain from each, right? So you can accelerate your journey, but a Vedantin is optimistic that compared to everything else in creation, not only all other human beings, but all other creatures, where do I stand? How gifted am I that my mind is, first of all, I'm born in this physical form. I'm born in an environment which is familiar with this knowledge. I'm born in a environment which is conducive for this knowledge. I'm born in circumstances which are conducive for this knowledge. I have found an association, a satsang, which can convey this knowledge effectively. I have found a teacher or teachers who can clearly articulate this for me. I have the inclination for it. I have a mind that has an inclination for it. Where do I stand? I am one among a trillion. If life is an outcome of probabilities, I have the best probability to succeed in this spiritual journey. That's how Vedantin thinks. So, Vedantin also says, I don't worry about the result. Last life, not last life, I don't care. With this awareness of how all the probabilities are stacked in my favor, Let me do my sadhana. That's how Vedanta thinks. They don't worry about, oh my God, how many more lives to go? Oh my God, so much is pending. Oh my God, last week I spoke to past life regression, so much nonsense I did in my past. All this stuff Vedantins don't get into. See, not to say that these are things are wrong or not right. We don't, it's not about passing a value judgment. It's about having that spirit of surrender. My environment is best suited for my evolution. And I have been given more than I need. I have been gifted with more than I need. In order to let go of the pole, a person needs to have faith in himself. Similarly, in order to let go of the spiritual courses, don't we need to have faith in ourselves that we can unite with Brahman? Absolutely. Absolutely. But you can't let go of the pole when you're starting to run. Na? You let go of the pole and you have that faith and you have that shraddha and you have that conviction only when you're up there. And don't worry, that shraddha, that conviction will come. Right now, use the pole. Right now, use the pole to develop a momentum, to improve your skill, to improve your capacity to rise. So use the pole. She's using the example of a pole vault, wherein you use a pole to rise to a particular height and then cross over a barrier, right? So that sport, that activity is likened to the spiritual journey, wherein ultimately you have to cross over this pole, you have to cross over this terrestrial world, and everything you know, good, bad, mundane, spiritual, all belongs to this terrestrial world. It always has to be left behind, including your guru, including your knowledge, including whatever tradition you're following, including your rituals, including your practices. Everything has to be left behind. But yes, there's a time for that. You don't leave these things behind when you're still grabbing the pole and on the ground. You use the pole to climb to that height. Then you'll realize you don't need the pole anymore. But as a sadhak, as an initiate, as someone who is stepping into the journey or just still navigating and growing, grab onto the pole. Krishna says in chapter 17, Yajna Dana Tapa. Yajna Dana Tapa. You must not leave. One way to look at it is Karma Bhakti Jnana, or these are practices which propel your Shraddha, essentially. Yajna Dana Tapa. These practices or your yoga should not be left. If you have the thought of leaving it, don't leave it. So don't worry about when we will leave the pole and how we will. The pole will fall away by itself. As long as you realize that the pole is a means to an end, right? It will fall away. Don't worry about that. That faith, that conviction, that capacity in you will automatically grow. Any other questions? Chetnaji, your question will be answered through the course of the very few first verses, 7-8 verses. We'll answer it. Or short answer we've already given. We'll give a more elaborate explanation. Okay. If there are no other questions, then drum roll. Chapter 7. Jnana Vijnana Yoga. Chapter 7 of the Bhagavad Gita is titled Jnana Vijnana Yoga. By now, I hope you know the title of all the earlier 6 chapters. One day I'll do a spot quiz. Anyone? Without seeing, without cheating, know all the 6 chapters names? Anyone want to take the challenge? No?
Yashwaji is not here. He would know. See, if you also posted your question before class, we would study.
That's the secret. Huh? Ah. Okay. So, chapter 7 marks sort of a shift. If you all know, the Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters. And the 18 chapters, even though there is no such demarcation, but those who have studied and commented and reviewed and thoroughly understood the Bhagavad Gita. First of all, as I've said before, people often ask, "Can I join in the middle of the class? Can I? I've already missed so many things." Bhagavad Gita is the same 15 ideas recycled again and again in a different theme, in a slightly different theme. So you can join at any point. Make sure you complete the cycle. You start at chapter 13, make sure you complete chapter 13. The rest is the teacher's job to make it sort of accessible to you. And in time you'll get access, you'll be able to understand. So it's not that it necessarily gets more and more complicated, or you necessarily miss out on something and you can't catch up. But at the same time, the 18 chapters have been divided into 3 themes, right? Such as the fascination of Vedantins with the number 3. Everything is in threes. Waking, dream, deep sleep, sattva, rajas, tamas, everything is in threes. Karma, bhakti, jnana. So even this 3 sections of the Bhagavad Gita, they've divided into chapter 1 to 6, chapter 7 to 12, and chapter 13 to 18. Okay. Chapter 1 to 6, and which you have clearly seen, even though none of you know the names of the chapters, which is more a shame on me. None of you know the name of the chapters, but you'll also, I hope you recall the contents of the chapters, which is more important. Chapter 1 to 6 has talked about the individual's journey. And it's very clear. Chapter 1, Arjuna Vishad Yoga. Your journey begins with doubt, confusion, despair, and internal struggle. It's a Vishad. Why? Because you don't know. You don't know what to do. You don't know what choices to make. You don't know how to handle a conflict. You don't know what's the purpose of your life. You don't know how to go about it. You don't know. And that not knowing creates a Vishad, creates a conflict, creates a despondency, creates a depression in you. Right? But the most important thing to do when you don't know and when you're down is not to stay depressed, is to seek help. First of all, you're not the only person who doesn't know. It's just that we have made it so common to not know. And we've almost created a sense of, stigma around showing that we actually don't know. People are afraid to show, "Oh, I don't know something." They much rather pretend that they know, than accept that they don't know. But the wise are those who acknowledge what they don't know. That's actually a sign of wisdom. So when you don't know something, when you're conflicted about something, when you're faced with a situation and you don't know how to handle it, seek out for help. Surrender to areas of your ignorance. You must learn to surrender to areas of your ignorance. I have not used this phrase much, but this is something this is one of my guru's favorite phrases. People would ask, what is bhakti? What is bhakti? Surrendering in areas of your ignorance is bhakti. We often say bhakti is that spirit of surrender. Surrender to what? Surrender when? Surrendering in areas of your ignorance is bhakti. And so as Arjuna surrendered to Lord Krishna, that's when the Bhagavad Gita actually started. So long as Arjuna was blabbering, I know. And that's what we do. We actually don't know how to deal with the situation, but we have 20 other theories. And having seen what others have done, we try to imitate. Arjuna is lecturing Krishna in the beginning. I know, Krishna, you know what, if we don't do this, the rice ball and water will not be given, ancestors will be destroyed, everything will go, there'll be Varna Sankara, there'll be chaos, there'll be confusion. If we fight this war, I shouldn't fight, I must not fight. And such a blabbering, Krishna keeps quiet. Because so long as you think you know, knowledge will not come to you. But only when you acknowledge, I don't understand, only when you surrender to this area of your ignorance, will knowledge actually come to you. And there's no shortage of knowledge in this world, please. There's no shortage of knowledge. There's no shortage of knowledge. There's no shortage of teachers. We're all waiting. Those who can't wait start blabbering even when you don't ask. Most people give unsought advice. That's also a sign that they are not an actual guru, that they actually don't know. Anyone giving unsought advice, understand, it's not going to help you. Or, well, you can really get help by anything. So when you surrender in areas of your ignorance, knowledge comes to you. That's when you get the explosion of knowledge, Sankhya Yoga. Chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, once Arjuna's Vishad is past and he surrenders, comes Sankhya Yoga, that flood of knowledge. Now that flood of knowledge is not easy to take in all at once. It's impossible, in fact. Right? But that flood of knowledge is very important to create in you a reassurance. Okay. There is something that can save me. There is something that I can actually take guidance from. So with Sankhya Yoga, Krishna showered the entire philosophy on Arjuna. Head to tail, everything. He started with the subtlest philosophy. Arjuna didn't get most of it. But what he did get was he grabbed on to a couple of things that Krishna said. And he started to ask questions. So when knowledge comes, you can't simply just take it in and have belief and absorb it. And, this is not an area for beliefs. Knowledge is not meant to be believed. Knowledge is meant to be questioned and inquired into. So then a flood of questions start from Arjuna, one after another. Oh Arjuna, oh Krishna, what is the quality of a perfect person? Sthita pragnasya ka bhasha, samadhistasya keshava, sitadhi kim prabhashita, kimasita prajitake. Oh Arjuna, oh Krishna, if you consider knowledge to be greater than action, why do you indulge me in this terrible action? Please give me the single path. What should I do? Is knowledge better or is action better? So then began a flood of questions from Arjuna, through which Krishna started to break down the philosophy into pieces. So your journey begins with confusion, ignorance, doubt, depression, despondency, and with the flood of knowledge, with that eagerness, with that awareness that, okay, here is something that can help me, you start your journey. And how does your journey start? With the basics, with Karma Yoga. You are a bundle of desires, you're a bundle of emotions and thoughts, and you need Karma Yoga to give that a direction. Karma Yoga gives your desires a direction. It's the best way to address the bulk of your desires. And through Karma Bhakti Jnana, you reduce the quantity of your desires, you improve the quality of your desires. The nature of the karma you do will improve, the nature of the work you do will improve, and the way you work will improve. You will attain Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. You'll gain Jnana Karma Sannyas. You'll gain a grasp upon the situations of the world. You'll gain a certain fortitude and a certain stability. Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. And if you continue in this path, you'll gain Karma Sannyasa Yoga. You'll gain a detachment. You'll gain a mental withdrawal. So that journey which began with a despondency and a despair and a complete and utter confusion will grow to a vairagya, Karma Sannyasa Yoga. You'll realize your part and you'll play your part and get out. Karma Sannyasa Yoga. And that state of withdrawal, that state of mental abstraction, that state of mental fortitude is essential for Dhyana Yoga, meditation. Because the spiritual journey, which starts with confusion, concludes with meditation. Through meditation, you realize the truth. You attain the ultimate liberation. So, chapter 1 to 6, Arjuna Vishad Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, Karma Sannyasa Yoga, Dhyana Yoga. It spells out the entire journey of Karma Yoga in a sense. Chapter 7 onwards, chapter 7 to 12, we'll talk about various other things. But broadly, you'll see the theme of bhakti taking over slowly. So even though there's no mention of bhakti in the name of this chapter, Jnana Vijnana Yoga, it seems very Jnanam heavy. Actually, there's a lot of bhakti. For starters, the way in which Krishna addresses himself, he begins to address himself as God. Classic bhakti. A jnani will not relate to Krishna as God. A jnani will relate to Brahman as God. A jnani will relate to the Atman as the goal. But a bhakta needs a form. A bhakta needs an ishta. A bhakta needs something that is perceivable to shower their emotions on. And that's where Krishna says, I am that. That is me. I am Brahman. Krishna, the enlightened, the self-realized. When you become self-realized, you lose your individuality, you merge with the totality. You lose your individual vasanas. You've completely eradicated them and you've attained Godhood. That's the journey. That's why it never says Sri Krishna Uvacha, it says Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. And for a bhakta, that Bhagavan is what draws the affinity. So throughout this chapter, you'll see Krishna will address Arjuna with the pronoun me. Come to me, do this and you will come to me. They do not think about me. They do not worship me. So the entire nature of the dialogue will change. So while it is not going to be fully bhakti, you'll see fully bhakti later in chapter 9, 10, 11, Vishwarupa Darshan, complete bhakti. In fact, complete, it's a trance. And then chapter 12 is titled Bhakti Yoga. So that's, giving the beautiful qualities of a bhakta. So as this contents of bhakti will increase, but you can begin to see the themes of bhakti appear in this chapter. So this chapter, the commentator Swami Parthasarathi, the commentator of this particular book that we are reading, this particular commentary that we are reading, has broken the chapter into 6 parts. This is not in the original Bhagavad Gita. There's no such sort of bifurcation in the original Bhagavad Gita. And different commentaries will have slightly different interpretations, slightly different sort of, but the idea is this is just to give the student an idea of, what is the flow of thought, right, in any chapter. So in any chapter, you'll see the chapter of 40 verses, 30 verses, 72 verses has been broken up into several sections. This chapter has 30 verses, like the previous chapter had 47 verses. This chapter has 30 verses and is broken up into 6 sections. Right? The first will talk about the 2 aspects of Brahman. Chetna ji will answer your question here. The 2 aspects of Brahman, para and apara. Immediately, and you'll see why bhakti is important. Because when he says Brahman, he'll relate to it as me. Krishna will say my higher nature and my lower nature. He'll not say Brahman's higher aspect and lower aspect. He'll say my higher nature, my lower nature. Right? How Brahman manifests itself. Brahman is achintya. Brahman is inconceivable. But still, here are some subtle concepts which will help you relate to the very idea of creation, the very idea of maintenance, the very idea of destruction, the very idea of this Brahman, how Brahman manifests itself. This is a knowledge which is most subtle, and people who are attached and involved in this world have no interest in this. The vicious do not know, nor do they seek Brahman. In fact, they'll be like, what nonsense, what rubbish is all of this? पैसा कमाओ, मौज करो, enjoy करो. The vicious do not know or seek Brahman. They seek their own glorification, they seek material aggrandization. If at all they seek God as a dalal. Ye karwa do, wo karwa do. Huh? They do not know in essence, nor do they want to know in essence. However, besides the vicious, apart from the vicious, are the virtuous. The four types of virtuous people who even think, who even seek Brahman, who even seek God. So, first are the non worshippers who dismiss God, who don't have any faith, who don't have any belief, who don't even bother. This entire manifest universe, this mysterious world in front of them, they're completely oblivious to it. Very interesting. Very interesting. I was watching Elon Musk's podcast. Some of you may have seen it on YouTube. Elon Musk, perhaps one of the smartest people in our world today, or at least the smartest people who's out there and visible. There are many wise people who are just silently living, behind the scenes. But if there's someone who's doing some fascinating and incredible things, it's Elon Musk. A lot to learn from him. And of course, he has a very different journey than Vedanta. He has a very different journey but in many ways, it's very similar. I wonder if he's come across some of these deeper concepts of Vedanta and Maya and everything else. I'm sure he has. Anyway, so in which he was talking about the host asked him, "What do you believe in? You've started to talk about mystical things. Are you starting to believe in God?" The host asked him. He said, "I believe in the Creator. I believe in the Creator." Here is a man, and this is the most inspiring thing about him. The most inspiring thing about him is his awareness of the fascination of creation and his eagerness to understand extrovertedly, perhaps, the essence of it. This creator who has created this world, how has this creation happened? The laws of the world, particularly the laws of physics and the laws of chemistry and the laws of biology and the laws of this and that, which are of the manifest world, hold the secrets of what is behind this. And here is a person who has dedicated his life to discovering it and creating things out of that. Fascinating, the kind of work that they are doing. It's changing the shape and the direction of our entire civilization. But behind all this work, here is the core belief that there is a creator. It didn't come out of nothing. It couldn't have. How can something come out of nothing? It couldn't have. There must be an unseen hand. Even though the creator may not be manifest, they are manifest through their creation. And I want to understand that creation. And that's the inspiration that he holds. So, in many ways, Elon Musk is not a vicious person he's seeking Brahman, he's seeking God in a slightly different way, right? He's seeking to understand the ways of the Creator, the ways of Brahman. But there are four virtuous types who worship God, who consider, first of all, who regard that there's possibly something, an unseen hand behind this manifest world, who's created it, who's sustaining it, who's maintaining it, who's the ultimate powerhouse, right? And they come in four forms, depending on their motive. Why do they worship? There are some people who worship for their own benefaction, to gain, to earn, to aggrandize wealth. They're called arthahas. Then there are those who come for emotional solace. A lot of us will identify among those who seek God for some kind of emotional solace, or who seek God in times of crisis. They are the arthahas. The other ones are artharthis. These are arthahas. Then there are those who are very curious, who want to understand the secrets of various concepts of God and how creation happened and what is the nature of God. They are jignasus. And then there are those who realize that all of this is worthless or limited. What I need to do is actually realize God, attain God, become one with God. They are the jnanis. So there are four types of virtuous people, and we'll talk about them in section 4. So there are vicious and there are virtuous. The deluded seek and gain finite fruits in the world. The deluded, whether they are vicious or maybe even virtuous but not conceiving the ultimate, they seek and they gain finite fruits. They seek wealth, they gain wealth. They seek health, they gain health. They seek enjoyment, they gain enjoyment. And they enjoy the finite fruit. The wise seek the ultimate. The wise seek to exit this cycle, this chakravyuh, the cycle of punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. They seek and gain Brahman, moksha, liberation. This has got a entire package. This is the entire journey packed into a small 30 verses, right? And that's why perhaps this chapter is called Jnana Vijnana Yoga. Right? The reason why this chapter is called Jnana Vijnana Yoga is because it's packing so much of information into just 30 verses. And see, there's a tradition in many scriptures also that perhaps the first verse or the first idea that appears in the chapter becomes the name of the very text. You can see that in Upanishads. You can see that in, see, for example, Ishavasya Upanishad. Why is Ishavasya Upanishad called the Ishavasya Upanishad? Is there something about Isha out there? Did Isha Foundation get the name from there? You might think, why is Ishavasya Upanishad called Ishavasya Upanishad? Ishavasya Upanishad is called Ishavasya Upanishad only because the first word is Isha. Ishavasya midagu sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat. The first verse starts with Isha, that's why it's been given the name Isha Upanishad. Similarly, Kena Upanishad. Why is Kena Upanishad called Kena Upanishad? What is the meaning of Kena? The first word is Kena. That's why it's called Kena Upanishad. Kene shitam patati preshitam mana kena prana prathama praiti yuktaha. So this is a tradition in some, it's not the rule. Many Upanishads are not given this such a name. Many texts are not given such a name. But here you can see that the first idea in this chapter, the first thing that the Lord will say in verse number 2 is, I will give you knowledge and wisdom. And because that's among the first things that he says, perhaps that's where the name of this chapter comes, Jnana Vijnana Yoga, because that's the first utterance, the first assurance that the Lord gives in this chapter. Okay, let's start. Let's start with the chapter. We've talked a lot, we've said a lot, we've answered a lot of questions, and let's get a couple of verses in. We have about 8 to 10 minutes. Any questions, please raise your hands and let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions. Okay. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Saktamanah Partha Yogam Yunjanmadashrayah Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yathajnasasi Tachrinu. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Saktamanah Partha Yogam Yunjanmadashrayah Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yathajnasasi Tachrinu. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, the blessed Lord, Shri Bhagavan said, O Partha, with mind attached to me, practicing yoga, taking refuge in me, how you shall without doubt know me fully, that you do here. So the Lord is seeing Arjuna after Dhyana Yoga, his mind is completely in oscillating. कुछ समझ में नहीं आया, थोड़ा बहुत समझ में आया. He asked a question. I don't think all of this is doable, O Krishna. And Krishna gave that assurance. But still, it's not so easy, right, to grasp and accept some of the things that were said. And the Lord perhaps recognizes that, right? Only that much can be conveyed through jnanam. Jnanam has to be gradually, slowly absorbed. And to absorb knowledge, you need all yogas, karma, bhakti, jnana. Bhakti is that raft which keeps you consistent and afloat on the journey. Bhakti is that which helps you grow your conviction. So recognizing that sense of inability to absorb everything in Arjuna perhaps, the Lord says, let me tell you how without doubt, how with certainty, with the mind attached to me. In the previous chapter, he was talking about mind thinking about Brahman, mind attached to Brahman. Now he's saying with mind attached to me. You saw that in the last verse of the last chapter, and he continues that because that's going to be the theme now, right? Brahman is no longer an impersonal and intangible thing. I am Brahma. I am your Devta. I am your Ishta. Come, surrender to me. So with mind attached to me, practicing yoga, taking refuge in me, how you shall without doubt, asamshayam, my guarantee, know me fully. Please hear from me. So here is the Lord speaking to a devotee now. Earlier it was a guru speaking to a student, Shishya. Now it's the Lord speaking to a devotee. Meri sharan mein aao. How with your mind completely attached to me, you will with certainty come to me. I will tell you all of it. I will tell you it entirely. A bhakta needs that reassurance, right? Or with the reassurance, your jnanam is sustained, maintained, and you gain progress in jnanam, right? Because nobody is 100% a jnani. You need that reassurance of emotion, emotional reassurance to stay on the path. So the Lord, very like a parent to a child. If you recall in the previous chapter, he addressed Arjuna as Partha. He addressed Arjuna as Partha when Arjuna was confused. What will happen to me if I don't achieve if I fall from yoga, if I don't achieve the ultimate in yoga? And he said, oh Partha, oh my child. So in that spirit, as a parent, as a guardian, as a Devta, as a Bhagavan, as a Lord to a Bhakta, he says, asamshayam, without doubt, if you follow what I'm saying to you, you will know me fully. You will come to me. And that's what a Bhakta wants. What more does a Bhakta want than to come to the lotus feet of the Lord? Verse number 2. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshamya sheshatah yajñatva neha bhuyonyaha jnatavyamiti shishyate. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshamya sheshatah yajñatva neha bhuyonyaha jnatavyam avishishyate. I will declare to you in full this knowledge together with wisdom, which having known, nothing more here remains to be known. I will declare to you in full this knowledge together with wisdom. I will declare to you this knowledge together with wisdom, which having known, nothing more here remains to be known. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. All of you know, we have said this before. Knowledge is information gained from external sources. Wisdom is what you attain through your own reflection, contemplation, assimilation. Knowledge is gained from external sources. Wisdom is what you gain through your own reflection, contemplation, assimilation. When you chew upon what knowledge you gain from external sources, you turn it into wisdom. Nobody can give you wisdom. Anybody else, any external source, be it a book, a guru, a teaching, an institution, whatever it is, anything external can only give you information. You may like the information, you may resonate with the information, you may not like the information, that's a separate thing, but it's only information. Only when you chew upon it, when you question it, think about it, try to assimilate it, try to articulate it in your own understanding, does it slowly, and then of course experiment with it, see it in lived experience. All of these are essential. Manana, nididhyasana. Shravana is the gain of knowledge. Manan and nididhyasana is the churning and conversion of that into living wisdom. But Lord Krishna understands that Arjuna needs reassurance right now. A bhakta is a bhakta because they need reassurance. See, it's like how much time does a CEO have for each and every employee in the company? He was busy doing their own work, but still, to make an employee feel connected, special message will go on their birthday. Maybe a small thing will happen on a special occasion to make you feel connected. Why? Because the nature of emotion is to find reassurance. Reassurance is the very need of emotion. So the bhakta in you will worry, will I actually gain knowledge? What if I fall from knowledge? That was Arjuna's question in the previous chapter, just 10 verses ago. And even though the Lord has explained it conceptually, the Lord has explained it with some kind of, talk about you will be born into an environment of peace and prosperity, you will be born into, but all of those intellectual concepts are not enough to soothe the emotion. Those may soothe the intellect, but the emotion just wants reassurance. Emotion doesn't understand. And to cater to that doubt in Arjuna, to cater to that emotion in Arjuna, that emotion of what will happen, he says, don't worry, I will give you this knowledge together with wisdom. Sab kuch de dunga. It's like, once Swamiji was narrating the story, how once a student came to him and said, with a lot of doubt, I don't think this is possible. Can you give me enlightenment? Can you give me enlightenment? With a very doubtful state. Swamiji said, yes, I can give you. I can give you enlightenment. As if it's like some chana bhajia being sold in the market. I can give you enlightenment. But I'm busy right now, you come tomorrow. He was busy, he was actually busy. He was, after the lecture or whatever. I can give you enlightenment, you come tomorrow. Swamiji thought a lot of people ask such, questions. So he dismissed it. Next day, he wasn't expecting that the person will actually show up. They actually showed up. So when he showed up, Swamiji spoke to him for 10-15 minutes and gave some concepts, some understanding. He said, you work on this, come after a week. It'll happen. Don't worry, it'll happen. He gave him the reassurance, don't worry, it'll happen. But he gave him with little food for thought. You churn with it, you work it out, I don't want to give all of it to you. 1 week, come back to me, it'll happen. 1 week later, he churned, he thought about whatever concepts, everything, he did some exercises. 1 week later, he came back to Swamiji. Swamiji said, listen, I have a 3-year course. Come, join it. The student came and joined the 3-year course. Somewhere down the 3-year course, I'm sure he realized, forget 1 day, forget 10 days, this will take some time. But he also realized that he has all the tools with him to continue his journey, right? In the beginning, you feel that, someone else needs to give it to you. You think it's not possible. But as you work with yourself, you'll realize you have all the tools. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of your own effort and shraddha. But in the beginning, if someone says, no, it's not possible, you'll go away disheartened. If you're already in a state of doubt, and someone says, no, it's not possible, many lives, it'll take many lives. If I tell Rashmi ji, it'll take many lives, she'll not come back to the next class. But if I tell her, no, this is the last life, then she has to come to her own realization that it's a matter of her own conviction, how long it will take, right? So when it comes to removing doubt, Krishna is almost overselling. I'll give you knowledge together with wisdom. But here's also the beauty of a teacher. If a teacher can not only convey a concept or a piece of information, but say the right thing at the right time, say it with the right amount of emotion, say it from so many perspectives, then it's a matter of time. If the student simply stays in the tutelage of a teacher, it's bound to happen that their inner transformation will happen. See, I've had the privilege of living with a guru, and what they mean to me or what I feel they have done for me, I cannot express to you. But this is precisely what they have done for me. They have conveyed this knowledge so comprehensively. They have broken down such complicated concepts, and if you try to start studying Vedanta on Google or you go to anywhere random, you'll spend several lifetimes just looking, searching what is right, which sampradaya, which guru, which this, which that, which branch. To break all of that and simply into 15-20 ideas, and with conviction, with their own lived experience. I don't know how many lifetimes I have cut because of my guru. Together with knowledge, they gave me wisdom. Of course, I have had, and I have to continue to work for that wisdom. It's not that it comes for free. But the enormity of their efforts and the beauty with which they convey it and the environment they create, it only helps the student accelerate on their journey. So that's what perhaps he means. I will declare to you in full this knowledge along with wisdom. I'll explain it so beautifully, so through so many, and he's already doing it in 6 chapters. Krishna has presented so many ideas through so many ways. When we discuss it, it turns out to be the same concepts, but he's taken so many approaches. So I will give you all of it, don't worry. Which having known, nothing more here remains to be known. You gain this, that's it. You don't need anything else. You don't need any more degrees. You don't need any more knowledge. 700 verses of the Bhagavad Gita are enough. I'm saying this with conviction for someone who has read more than 700 verses. There's nothing more out than what is out here, and there's nothing anywhere else that's not here. Knowing this, there will be nothing more which remains to be known. It's not the breadth of knowledge and the breadth of understanding and the breadth of traditions you gain in this journey that matters. It's your depth of experience. Go deep in one, and here's an infinitely deep well of knowledge, the Bhagavad Gita. And there'll be nothing else that remains to be known. At least so far it seems like that. Nothing else needs to be known. I can tell you from my own conviction. So this is what he is conveying to Arjuna. Oh Arjuna, don't worry. He's reassuring that emotion, that doubt in him. Don't worry. I will give it to you all. I'll give you knowledge along with wisdom. And with that wisdom, with that transformation, you'll realize this is all there is to know. We'll continue to explore the second part of this verse in the next class. What does it mean? That having known this, nothing more here remains to be known. But I understand there's a paucity of time, and I appreciate. So we'll conclude with that thought, and we'll continue this on Thursday, chapter 7. I'm happy to take up any questions if there are right now. Otherwise, class is dismissed. Of course, you guys have the video on YouTube, so if you want to leave, please, you can follow the last section, the last 10 minutes or whatever on YouTube. Yes, Rituji, you have a question.
Namaste, Utsavji. So you just mentioned while you were doing the introduction, you said bhakti is the surrendering to areas of ignorance. This I couldn't comprehend or couldn't understand. What would this mean? So if you could throw some light on this.
Bhakti is surrendering, the art of surrendering in areas of your ignorance is bhakti. That's what bhakti is. We've spoken of bhakti in different contexts as surrender itself, isn't it? Surrender to the mystery of the world, seeing a splash of divinity everywhere, that unseen hand that seems to be managing and maintaining it, that is beyond your conception. That deep sense of surrender to an unknown spiritual entity is what we've called bhakti. But it need not be even something that extreme. Even in your day-to-day life, you can inculcate that very same feeling, even to a doctor, even to a lawyer, even to a teacher. What does it mean to surrender in areas of ignorance? To acknowledge, recognize, I don't know, and to fully give yourself into what someone who knows is conveying to you. When we, for example, I know somebody I know was recently pregnant, and among other things, they said nowadays these hospitals and doctors, they just want to take your money. They'll unnecessarily hospitalize you for an extra day or 2 days. Now, okay, it's okay to have that one doubt in your mind and make the appropriate, investigations to avoid that. But to have that doubt at every step, it means you haven't surrendered to your doctor. You should have the art of assessment, of finding a person who you can relate to or who you feel knows. That's the assessment you have to do. But having assessed and chosen, okay, this is my doctor and I like the facilities in this hospital, this is the hospital, you must learn to surrender. What does it mean to surrender? If they ask you to take a medicine, take it. If they ask you to get admitted, get admitted. If they ask you to do a particular test, don't say, oh, they're just being greedy, they want me to do this test unnecessarily, I have to spend $10,000. And then your mother will tell you, yeah, in our time they never did these tests. All these tests are useless. What are you all doing? You all are not surrendering in an area of, either you say I knows, either you yourself are a gynecologist, MBBS, ABCD, whatever, or someone you are being guided by knows and can properly say, okay, this is something wrong. And I'm not even saying to accept and surrender to any quack, right? The opposite is also true. I know people in Calcutta, this is which doctor to go to, who everyone goes to. What does it mean, who everyone goes to? First of all, you don't develop in yourself the capacity to make your own choice. I'm not saying who everyone goes to is wrong. But you should have your own reasons for choosing something, your own assessment of what works, what does not work. Only when that is clear will your surrender be clear, right? So it's a double fault. Neither you know how to assess and choose, and neither do you actually surrender, right? So you make a choice based on hearsay and feeling, and then you doubt the very choice you have made. You don't follow up on, having surrendered to who you believe knows. And this is prevalent in every area of your life. Every area. Whether it's your health, whether it's your business, whether it's knowledge. All this is okay, Utsavji, but I think I don't completely agree with you. I'm not saying you have to agree or disagree with me entirely on anything. But when you come here, your first thought shouldn't be, oh, I agree with this, I disagree with this. When you come here, first listen and take in whatever is being said. Churn it for yourself. Try to unlearn or at least keep aside what you think you already know and hear it with an unbiased ear. That is called surrendering to areas of ignorance. I'm not saying you have to accept it and follow it blindly. That is called blind surrender. I'm not saying blind surrender. Surrender means that capacity to listen and take in. Right? That's bhakti. That belief in something I do not know until I know what I believe in. That's the journey of bhakti. That surrender to an area of my ignorance until I realize and get enlightened. So the idea is not to just surrender and leave it out there. It's also a journey. Your entire sadhana is a journey to knowing. But until you know, you must surrender. And make your assessment who to surrender to, where to surrender, what to surrender. But having surrendered, follow their guidance, because their guidance is what will lead you to the light. Their guidance is what will lead you to your realization. Just like a doctor's guidance will lead you to health, a lawyer's guidance will lead you to a resolution, a teacher's guidance will lead you to an understanding, right? So that
So,
is the bhavana of bhakti. Yeah.
no, so it doesn't, so the prerequisite is not faith then for bhakti.
What is faith? What is
Faith,
faith?
yes. So, like you just said, to my mind, I'm thinking if I believe, like if my faith is there, which is
What is
backed by
faith?
belief,
What is faith?
faith, I would understand it as trust.
What is trust? Why does trust come about? Because others have said so. Because many other people are believing it.
Necessarily, yeah. Not necessarily, yes, but primarily, yes.
Faith comes from a variety of sources. And no doubt, tradition is one of the means of, or one of the contributors to faith. But faith must be based on assessment. Your faith in something must have an initial inquiry behind it. You have faith in a doctor. Why do you have faith in a doctor? Of course, because of their degrees and their years of experience and their background, right? No doubt. But also having met them and spoken to them, what is their nature? Are they able to clarify your doubts? Do you resonate with their way of functioning? So, all of these things, of course, their reputation, along with your own experience of it, your own initial inquiry into it, has created that faith, right? So,
So,
when there is no inquiry, it is called blind faith. When there is no effort made to connect with something, it is called a blind faith. But that initial connection of faith is made through this inquiry. Thereafter, it is Shraddha. Thereafter, you must surrender and do what you're told to do on the path. Right? So, it's very important to understand what is faith. Faith is not blind. And if by that you mean blind faith will only take you that far. Blind faith will leave you at the mercy of vultures, because there are a lot of people who are wanting to make a fool out of you and benefit, earn a quick buck out of spirituality or anything for that matter.
if I may say, when you give the other examples of a physician, like a medical practitioner or someone, I feel what you say is, of course, 100% true. And that's how it happens. But if we talk about bhakti, like if I consider my own example, it is the tradition that has put me there where I am on my path, because I've seen it happen. Also because it gives me that cushion, that comfort factor without any inquiry as of now. And I feel, please pardon me for, I mean, I'm not just saying anything, but I mean, inquiry into what? I mean, like one says, bhakti, even Sri Krishna would say that drop everything and come to my refuge. Which would, are you really asking one to inquire, or are you just asking someone to surrender to the, because you don't know, because there is no one thing that you know. So then accept that there is this one thing and bow down to it.
All beautiful questions. All beautiful questions. I'll just leave you with one question. I'm not going to answer it because stay with these questions. Very good. And we will address them through the course of this chapter only.
Yeah.
Why are you surrendering? For what are you surrendering? आप किसी की शरण में जा रहे हो, आप भगवान कृष्ण की शरण में जा रहे हो, आप किसी भगवान शिव की शरण में जा रहे हो, या आप कहाँ जहाँ भी जा रहे हो, आप क्यों जा रहे हो? आपके जो समर्पण का भाव है, उस समर्पण के पीछे जो भाव है वो क्या है? भगवान मुझे सुखी रखो, मेरे बच्चों को सुखी रखो, मेरे परिवार को सुखी रखो, भगवान मुझे ये दिला दो, भगवान मेरी मनोकामनाएं पूरी कर दो. इज दैट योर भावना? भगवान मुझे इस मुश्किल से निकाल दो, या फिर मुझे इस मुश्किल से निकलने के लिए क्षमता दो. इज दैट योर भावना? So he gives a name to that. Then you become an artah. भगवान थोड़ी सी लिफ्ट करा दो, भगवान थोड़े से पैसे दिला दो, भगवान थोड़ा चमत्कार करा दो. Then you'll be an अर्थार्थी. So by inquiry, we don't mean, well, we mean all of these things because none of these are wrong. You will worship as per your vasanas, as per your tendency, as per your desires. Your worship will follow the nature of your desires. But ultimately, your worship also evolves. What you seek from God also grows. Ultimately, you don't seek anything from God. The ultimate worship is not seeking anything from God, just wanting to be at the lotus feet of the Lord, because that's where you feel you belong. अगर वो भावना है, फिर you're way past inquiry. तब तो एक वो भक्ति इतनी शुद्ध है, वहां तो संशय की कोई बात ही नहीं आती. If you have reached that state, that connection with the Lord, where simply being in their thought is sufficient for you, simply their name brings tears to your eyes. If that's the purity of bhakti you have achieved, then you don't need all of this. Right? Then you have attained a certain vairagya. But before that, we're talking about the journey before that. So when we say inquiry, we mean a curiosity, a desire to know. That's all. But we'll touch upon all these things as we go. Also depends on how much of a ज्ञानी you are. You know, हम ज्ञानियों को खुजली होता है, हमें समझना है. But those who are overly emotional, they don't need all this jnana. It's an irritation to them. They just want to sing the praises of the Lord. Right? So it depends on what kind of person you are in predominance. But the fact remains, bhakti without jnanam is madness. Means you can be easily manipulated. If there is no inquiry in you, कोई कुछ भी बोल दे. पूजा के पहले पंचोपचार में ऐसे होना चाहिए, ऐसे नहीं करोगे तो भगवान गुस्सा हो जाएंगे. अरे तुम्हारे बेलपत्र में ये कटा हुआ था, हाय राम, क्या होगा? फिर आप अपने पुजारी जी को झाड़ोगे, बेलपत्र ऐसे लाए आप. So this is innocuous. Someone can make you believe something elsewhere also. ये पूजा नहीं करोगे तो बहुत प्रॉब्लम हो जाएंगे. There's a lot of madness being propagated in the name of bhakti. A lot of madness. You don't have to look far. I'm sure 10 people in your family only and 10 people in my family only are dealing with such. Yeah, pashyati sa pashyati. The path of knowledge is simple. If you want it, it's really simple, guys. Trust me, 15 years I've been in it. I've grown fond of everything else, but I'm not even saying this is for everyone. but if you see it, you see it. Yeah, Pashati Sa Pashati. Yes, Anjum ji, you had a question. Sorry, we are over time, but I'm in the mood today. So if you want to stay, you can stay. I have no other agenda right now. You
No,
had a
no,
question?
Hariom. No, you actually answered it. So basically, what I was thinking is that, you know, it ultimately is surrender. You know, when you have bhakti, you've churned it and you have surrendered to it. So it is surrender. Bhakti is surrender, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So you answered the question. That's
Assumption. When you develop that surrender, you gain an incredible fortitude. Your life may change overnight. Some things may happen in your life overnight, in an instant. But that bhakti will keep you afloat. And it's not a thought of, oh, Bhagwan अच्छा ही करेंगे, भगवान यही करेंगे, वो no, it's तो प्रभु की लीला है. And this is not for saying, this is not just an intellectual concept to soothe yourself. When you grow in that bhakti, it becomes your predisposition. आपके देखने का नजरिया ही बन जाता है वो. आप जिस तरीके से दुनिया को देखते हो, परिस्थितियों को देखते हो, नजरिया ही वैसे हो जाता है आपका. Right? So it's all. You get me started talking on bhakti, I won't stop. And then they say jnanis are different from bhaktas, are different from this, are different from that. All of your efforts flow into the same river, into the same ocean. So, with that thought, we conclude today. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again day after tomorrow.